If you're not going to market yourself, you will not succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think you made an important point earlier as well about how if you're proactively networking and you're getting out there and meeting people, it's not just a matter of walking in there and expecting that someone's going to hand you a project. It's really
Right.
more relationship building and continual
Exactly.
learning and being able to give back to the people who are also in that community. Because there are things that you're going to be great at or that you know that you've heard of, even if you're new, that might benefit someone else. And people remember that and they want to help you out. And it's very much like it's not a transactional thing. It's genuine relationships that you build where they want to help you out and you want to help them out. And that's really what you're looking to achieve, as opposed to, oh, what am I going to get if I attend this event? You know what I mean? And so a lot of it is the learning and the shared learning, and then the opportunities will come from that, as opposed to like, you know, having a checklist of things that you want to get out of an interaction, because people can tell when you're doing that, and that is not the best approach.
Now, again, I'll just give you an example. I've written a book chapter on which was the introduction to a RAPS book called Overview of Regulatory Writing. I wrote the introductory chapter. I set the tone essentially for the book. That came out of the blue, that opportunity. Somebody called me and said, Dan, I know you're interested in history of things, and I know that you have a feel for the history of medical writing. We're putting together a book. Would you be interested in writing the first chapter, the introduction? I didn't know they were doing it. I didn't deliberately go after it. Somebody just called me up one day.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what comes out of networking. A technique, probably the scariest networking technique I know, is asking for an informational interview. You say, I want to work in this area. Somebody, you don't necessarily have to drop names, although it helps if you can, told me that you know this, you've been in the business a long time. Could we go to lunch together? I'd like to take you out to lunch. I'm not going to ask you for a job. I just want to know, what this is about. Is this a field I should continue looking into? People will talk about themselves. Okay, don't go looking, again, this is not looking for a job. This is looking for a relationship. It's the same in looking for mentors. You will get nowhere if you never have a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have several. Okay, I've had at least 5 separate mentors over the years. The only ones I don't keep in contact with are the ones that I can't reach by seance. The others, the ones who still are above the ground, I always stay in touch with. These are my friends. These are some of them, 1 or 2 of them are father figures. Few of us are a band of brothers, but we have knowledge that we share. And sisters, I don't mean to be sexist, but you have to fit into the culture of medical writing if you want to be a medical writer. The ones who do the poorest are the ones who think that being a medical writer means being glued to your screen.
Yeah. I was just writing a post about this before we recorded the video about, if you're being glued to your screen all the time, you're really missing out on a lot of opportunities. And I do agree with you completely about the mentorship as well. I've always had mentors. I've always had coaches. I am a coach myself because I like to, help other people get into the field. I did so many informational interviews when I first discovered medical writing to try to figure out where to position myself, what would be a good fit for me, if I liked it, if I would be good at it. And, it never ends really. And even through these conversations that we're having right now, I'm always learning and I'm helping other people learn through our experiences. And so, yeah, I think it's that continual learning and continual contributions, but not being afraid to just have conversations with people, like you said, without expecting anything in return, but just recognizing the value of other people's experiences and other people's opinions and you know, things that they may know about that you haven't heard of, like the DIA, for example. I've never heard of those. I'm going to look into that. And every single time I have a conversation with someone, I'm learning something new. And that is what leads to long-term success.
DIA, for instance, less so now, but when I first started, if you were a regulatory writer, you probably got more out of Drug Information Association than you did out of AMWA.
Mm-hmm.
They've grown more to the middle over the years. But if you wanted to do marketing type writing, and for those of you who may be seeing this who don't know, manuscripts are considered by the regulatory authorities as marketing writing, as promotional writing, even if it's in a scientific or clinical journal. So you have to understand the audience, you have to understand the genre, and you never will just by studying.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
do that by talking to others. You
Yeah.
don't realize that you may be writing for the American Medical, for the American Medical Association journal, you know, for JAMA or whatever, New England Journal of Medicine, whatever. But if it's on a pharmaceutical topic, that's considered promotion by the FDA. And it has to follow those rules or people get into horrible trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Or more likely, it will just waste everybody's time and get rejected.
Yeah.
So there are genres in medical writing. You have to know the genre. You have to know the audience. You'll never know the audience if you don't talk to the audience.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. And recently I've been exploring more the editorial side of medical writing. So how can I get into newspapers or magazines and that, you know, trade magazines? And through, I realized that there's these whole other networking associations that I wasn't even aware of, just by talking to people who say, oh, well, are you a member of this? Are you a member of that? And then I'm finding these events and these conferences and these opportunities, and I never would have known that those even existed. And it's like a whole other avenue that someone could go down if they're interested in that type of writing. Some people would say, oh no, that's definitely not for me. And other people would say, wow, this is incredible. But you don't know that it even exists if you don't talk to people who are out there doing it. It's impossible for one person to do every single type of writing associated with healthcare that they could do. You know, nobody knows everything. We're all learning all the time.
And nobody really can do all the genres. I would add one very last point, and that's for the people who are not freelancing and are looking into doing something or something else. One thing I did in the 10 years that I worked at Wyeth and the few years I worked at other places before I really did pull the ripcord, bail out and go freelance, is I made it a point to, first of all, I never hung up on a recruiter. The entire time I've been in the field, even now. But make it a point to go to at least one job interview, either through a recruiter or, you know, sending a resume or whatever, at least every other year. Because if you don't do that, it's for your own information. You won't know the field if you stay in the one company. The days of the golden pocket watch are long gone.
Yeah,
that
that's
golden
really great.
pocket watch, looking for that golden pocket watch is an anchor that you can roll around your neck and jump in the water with. It won't, you won't have a satisfying career generally doing that.
Yeah.
It's seeing what's out there, and that's all networking. Going to job interviews is networking. Going to meetings is networking. Going to Zoom meetings, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. I said I was, you know, I've been a professor for 17 years. It's been almost entirely online. I was one of the few full-time online professors long before the pandemic. I loved it. I loved the global reach because I got to talk to so many other cultures.
Yeah.
So it expanded my network greatly. I loved it, and I still love it.
Yeah, it's really good fun when you embrace it and you just enjoy it and you don't add tons of pressure on yourself to get certain things out of it. Just, yeah, embrace it, make it part of who you are and what you do, and see what comes of it.